Hey, welcome back to Monique's Book List. And so today I'm doing a new thing where I review two books with the same premise and basically discuss which one I prefer. And I will be discussing plot. So, spoiler alert for both books. And I will be discussing writing style, the length of the books, pacing, and things like that. And I will try to keep this video under 10 minutes. So I'm not going to get into crazy detail about each book, but I'm going to kind of give you the premise and all that kind of stuff. So let's get started. So the first book I read was called Kiss Quotient. Anyone that knows me knows that I love Kiss Quotient. I thought it was one of my favorite reads of 2018. Not that I thought, it was one of my favorite reads of 2018. And then I also just recently read a book called Escort, and it was by Skye Warren. Kiss Quotient is by Helen, and I don't say her name right, but it's spelled Hoang. Yeah, Ng. But I'll put a picture of each book so you can see the covers and also see the names of the authors. So Kiss Quotient is about a young lady who is on the autism spectrum, and she wants to learn how to be in a relationship, how to work through her difficulties of being intimate with someone. And so she hires a escort. Her name is Stella Lane. She hires Michael Fan to be her instructor in learning how to be in a relationship. Michael initially thought it was a traditional meetup, hookup, or whatever for a client, and come to realize that she wanted more than just the traditional one night. She wanted a consistent, thing. So he was a little uncomfortable with that. I'm going to move my camera. Something is going on. There's a little bit of a lag. Let's see. Is that better? For some reason, it is like, okay, that's better. I apologize. So, when Michael finds out that she wants more than just a traditional date, he is uncomfortable. He doesn't really want to do it, but then he decides there's something about her, I need to do it. So he helps her learn how to be in a relationship. They're in a fake relationship. And during the fake relationship, of course, they fall for each other. And it is probably the cutest story. There's a lot of steaminess in this book. But it's a lot of like good stuff in the book too. Like it helps you understand that autism isn't, being on the autism spectrum, or even being on the autism spectrum isn't a death wish. You don't have to be ostracized because you're on the spectrum. And maybe it romanticized it a little bit, but I felt like it was good. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. So that is Kiss Quotient. Escort is kind of different in the premise of course, is a young lady by the name of Beatrice. She goes by B, and she hires Hugo to basically, she just wants to lose her virginity. And she wants to lose her virginity, you find out, for one of the saddest reasons ever. So we find out for one of the saddest reasons ever. But anyway, the story, Escort is a lot shorter. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. They're like, Kiss Quotient was 330 something pages. Let me look. Yeah, 336 pages. Escort was 260 pages. I listened to both books. Listening to Kiss Quotient was 9 hours and some change. Listening to Escort was 4 hours and some change. And to be fair, Escort felt like it was supposed to just be a smut novel, so that's why it was so short. Whereas Kiss Quotient was supposed to be more of a romance novel with some intimacy in it. So it talked more, in my opinion, the plot was a little more fleshed out, and there was a lot more detail about not only the two main people, but their extended families. And the great thing that I liked about both stories is they explained why both men became escorts. For Michael, it was because his mother I said spoilers alerts before, so again, spoiler alerts. For Michael, it was because his mother had gotten sick and he was paying her medical bills. And for Hugo, it was because he was from Tanzania, I'm probably saying it wrong, or Morocco. And his mother had just passed of cancer, and he was 15 years old. And he actually was brought to the US by an actual female escort who he had fallen in love with, and she was much older than him, and she brought him here. Basically, she knew that he idolized her and he was in love with her, but she brought him here for the purposes of making him an escort. So I appreciate that both books kind of gave you the background, what on the escorts, on why the men became escorts. But what Kids Quotient did a little much better than Escort was that in Kids Quotient you also got Stella's a lot in depth with Stella, and like in her head, and because like in Kids Quotient you get both parties, you're in both parties, like, the narration is from both parties, like it's from Michael and it's from Stella, whereas in Escort is only from Hugo. You only know what's going on in his head, and you know from B when he's like when they're having a dialogue. You don't really know, like she's not you don't know everything that's going on in her head, and also you only get a glimpse of her past and why she's in the situation she's in. Now, the reason why she's in the situation she's in is because she is her parents passed away when she was 10. Yeah, 10. And she lives in a hotel on the top floor, the penthouse floor, and she has a fear of leaving the hotel because because of the way her parents were killed. So she believes if she leaves the penthouse, she will be hurt also. And that's basically kind of all you get. You don't get much about her past beyond the fact that her parents have passed, and that that's about it. You don't really get a lot about her. And I wanted a little more. I believe that Kids Quotient moved at a decent pace, whereas Escort kind of dragged, because although I appreciate the narration from men's point of view, I felt like Hugo was very dramatic and emo, a little emo, and I didn't like it. Whereas with Kiss Quotient, you got both Stella and you got Michael, so the different perspectives in the book helped move the narration and the novel itself along. Whereas Escort, it was 4 hours, and it took me. Now, to be fair, I didn't sit down and just listen to it all in one sitting, because if I did that, it would have took me 2.5 hours. Because when I listen to novels, I listen to them at the speed of 2.0, so it's half the time or whatever the time is. So if it's 4 hours, it would have took me 2 hours. So even with that being said, it took me 3 days to listen to it, because it just moved so slow, and he was so emotional about everything. And another thing about Escort that I didn't like is that I personally have a bit of an issue with romanticizing virgins losing their virginity. Like I just do. I don't like it at all. I don't like it because I feel like, even though it's like a fictional book, and I understand it's a fictional book, and I appreciate that it's a fictional book, a fictional book. At the same time, there's a little bit too much of the romanticizing of how a first time is going. So I said all that to say that basically the plots were basically the same. Two women hired escorts. They both wind up falling in love with their escorts. Their escorts love them back. They have, for all we know, a happy ever after. They both men help them through their. I don't know the name for it, is when you don't leave your home. I thought it was agoraphobia. Am I saying that right? I don't got time to look all that up. I think it's agoraphobia. If I'm wrong, blame it on my head and not my heart. Anyway, and then of course the Stella with being on the autism spectrum. These two men love these women past that. I did appreciate that, like, love them past their deficiencies, and I say that because that's how it's written, that they feel deficient or they feel not enough because of these things. I say take a listen to both or a read of both. Escort, I would say buy it on sale. Don't pay full price like I did for it. But yeah, so both books were good. I definitely prefer Kiss Quotient over the over Escort. So yeah, I do look forward to reading a little more Skye Warren, but that's only like, when I don't know. I'm looking forward to, but she writes a lot of romance, and then this year I'm trying to move away from reading a lot of romance and trying to read other genres. So I won't be buying a bunch of her books so I can consume them, but right away. But I will be putting them in the rotation of reading in 2019. With all that said, the next books that I'm going to do this with is Grave Mercy, which I've read already, and Red Sister. And the premise of those two books are both assassin nuns. So I'm really excited to read Red Sister because Bobby said it was one of her favorite. And Bobby doesn't know this. I don't even know if she watches all my videos, but you're kind of like my best friend in my head on BookTube. I have best friends in real life, but on BookTube, you're kind of my best friend. But anyway, anyway, I'm weird. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.